Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Legion beta video. Today we are going to be tackling the topic of how long it's going to take you to level up in this expansion. It's a very interesting topic because many people want many different things. There's those of us who want a big 30-hour long single-player sort of RPG-like experience, and then there's those who would ideally hit a button, that they hopefully don't have to pay for, in order to hit maximum level instantly. So, with all that stuff in mind, where does Legion actually fare up? First of all, I was doing this on my Hunter, which I character copied from live, meaning that I was starting off with item level 704. However, I didn't have the legendary ring or anything like that because I pretty much quit playing the live game in July because I just was not feeling Warlords of Draenor and I didn't want to really, crush my enjoyment of the game. So I character copied my Hunter, which is pretty much my main, over to Legion and started leveling from the get-go. I recorded all of that using Shadowplay. And when we total everything up, that Shadowplay recording is about 17 hours and 7 minutes long. However, there are a few caveats there. About an hour of that was just AFK stuff because I didn't want to split my recordings up. So really my final total, you're looking at about 15.5 to 16 hours of leveling. Now in Legion, the way that the leveling works is, there's a few things that I need to explain. So you've got the 4 different zones, which you absolutely have to go through. Because, you need the XP, right? And there's also key story stuff going on in those zones, which, you will want to progress through in endgame. One of the main reasons for that's, your reps, your class order haul, it all ties into the quests, but don't worry, it's all pretty non-obtrusive and it's stuff that you would be doing anyway. Now, at the end of each of those 4 zones, you get a quest to do a dungeon, which is to do with a key element of the Legion narrative. Now that stuff will have to be done for your endgame progression because it ties into your class order haul and just a bunch of the endgame story stuff. Now it is the case that you could just go up to max level, do all the heroic dungeons and not really need to do that stuff, but the vast majority of players will. So I did those 4 dungeons. That's probably adding, that is adding about an hour and a half to my overall time. Now, in addition to that, you also have your class order haul to deal with. Now, this is similar to how in Warlords of Draenor, you could level up, not paying attention to your garrison, and then you just have to, level up your garrison when you're at max level. I decided in Legion to just do all that stuff as it came. My overall goal here was not to speedrun Legion leveling and then give you that number. My goal was to play it in the way that a normal player would upon the launch of the expansion. So i.e. doing all the content, not speedrunning it, and actually enjoying it. Now the only thing that I did not do is get my second artifact weapon. That would actually add another 40 minutes onto the overall leveling time for Legion. And there's also a bunch of what I would just call like one-off narrative quests that happen. A lot of them involve Khadgar, who sends you, off to do a special mission of some sort. They would add another 40 to 50 minutes onto this leveling time. So my overall thought here is that it is possible to do the Legion leveling, I would estimate, in 11 to 12 hours if you're just doing the zones, because what you find is that if you are, let's say, midway through High Mountain and you're just doing all of the questing, you can probably hit a level in an hour and a half, maybe even a little bit less. However, once you add up flying back to your class order haul, doing a few missions, getting a thing from Khadgar, etc., maybe doing a dungeon, that amount of time per level can increase quite a bit. Now, when I was doing the leveling zones, I was basically just going through all of the quests as they appeared so that I would finish every zone. I was also doing the world quests and I was picking up treasures. However, a departure from Warlords of Draenor is that treasures no longer give you a quest worth of experience. Now, I do understand that that might be a little bit sad for some of us who really enjoyed just doing the crazy treasure stuff and, completing Shadowmoon Valley in about 35 minutes on Warlords. I was definitely glad I did that on the Warlords launch though, because seriously, that Shadowmoon bottleneck was not fun, but they have removed that because, let's be honest, it was pretty overpowered being able to go through an expansion like that. So they will give you artifact power, class order haul resources, but no experience. And basically that's how I did the zones. I just went through them as a normal player would, finishing all of the content. I finished all of the content in Stormheim, Val'sharah, and most of the content in High Mountain and Asuna. In High Mountain I did all of the story quests and most of the world quests, and I did all of the world quests in Asuna and 3 out of 5 of the story quests, but the 3 that I did were the main ones. The others are kind of random, honestly. So overall, I felt like I really did go through a good body of content, and I actually waited to do my sort of proper playthrough of the Legion content until most of the voice acting was in, until all of the music was in, so I could get a good kind of gauge and measure of how much fun the leveling experience was overall. Now bear in mind, this is content that I've done from start to finish twice before, and I've done the zones a few times more than just the 8 that doing 2 full runs would actually suggest. And I still really enjoyed it. I think a big element of that was seeing all of the music be put in, all of the voice acting. That really did help with the story. The one thing that we don't have in is cinematics and things like that, and again, they'll add another layer of production value on top of all of this questing. I think it's a very enjoyable questing experience, and what I actually found over Warlords of Draenor is it felt a lot more explorative, and that really did work well in that once I was finished with doing those 4 zones and I hit level 100, I actually hit level 100 in a dungeon, but I then immediately got a quest to go to Suramar, and Suramar is a zone that I haven't actually put enough time into yet to do a video on it, but right now it seems like by far the most interesting zone that Blizzard have made in a very long time, in terms of their narrative delivery, their quest design, just overall, it seems like a stellar piece of work, but it all does make this rather explorative feel. I guess maybe there was a worry that it would just feel like maybe Tanan Jungle or something, or like some of that Iron Horde stuff, where it's just nothing but Legion all the time and you get a little bit bored of it. But no, there's pretty good variety here. I'm still quite disappointed that there aren't more than 4 leveling zones, because at the end of the day you are going through these 4 same zones on every single character. However, overall, I think that the leveling is working quite well, and if you're doing it maybe 2 to 3 times, if that's what the average player is doing, maybe, they're going to have an average of 3 level 110 characters for the expansion, then I think, yeah, probably is reasonable enough. So, just to reiterate the numbers, it took me about 15.5 hours doing that content. It probably would have taken me 16 hours and 10 minutes if I had have got my second artifact weapon. If I skipped doing dungeons, the Khadgar quests, I feel like I could have done this in about 12 to 13 hours. Now, if you're speedrunning this and you're going through with a bespoke goal, you're using Goblin Gliders to move faster, using speed potions, you've stocked up on materials, resources, pots, health food, buff food, and all of that stuff, you can probably do this in under that 12-hour benchmark, just like how in Warlords of Draenor, many of us were getting our Goblin Gliders and all that stuff and really power leveling through the zones. And one thing that I would also like to bring up is that with our Warlords of Draenor leveling, one issue that many players faced is they were stuck in either Frostfire Ridge or Shadowmoon Valley for a significant amount of time at the very start of the expansion, and of course the reason for that is, well, they were the 2 zones and all of your faction had to go into them. Well, it's not really like that in Legion. I mean, yeah, the Broken Shore exists. That's a 40-player instance, so you're not going to have many issues unless their servers fall over. That's pretty good. But then you're not bottlenecked when it comes to the zones, because you can do any of the 4. So if there are significant bottlenecks in one zone, you can probably just head to another, and that should cut down on some of the frustrations. Anyway, they are my thoughts on the amount of time it takes to level up in Legion, paired with some of my thoughts of the leveling experience itself. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you played the beta, let me know what you think down in the comments or via Twitter, which is the best place to get a hold of me. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.